The journey has been tough. All the time, we had to move away rocks to make way for the truck. How are we going to spend the night? All around us, this landscape of dark, brown stone, and sometimes a wadi where sands and small plants are entangled. Now, the night is falling, and we can't see our destination yet. We are blocked. The engine stalls about 30 times. We uproot bushes, and we go again. Finally, we reach a first well, and then a second one, full of sand. The night is cold.
This diary fragment of the Belgian professor Rijkmans quite nicely demonstrates the challenges the Philby Rijkmans-Lippens expedition faced while exploring the Arabian deserts for lost civilizations back in the 1950s. But today, we will tell our story. It's a story about following into the footsteps of the great explorers of the Middle East. It's a story about dedication and creativity of research teams working in desolate parts of the world. And it is a story about testing our own hypothesis in the dazzling landscapes of the Arabian desert. We want to show the world that history is not only book knowledge, but reconstructing history often depends on exploring those areas where hardly any scholar has gone before.
The Middle East is the region that has harbored the most ancient civilizations in the world, such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Persia, and it is known for its magnificent cultural heritage. Certainly, most of you have heard about the pyramids, right? And maybe the Ishtar Gate. And what about Persepolis? Yet, nowadays, the Middle East is especially known because of its military conflicts that cause a lot of human suffering. And they also endanger the cultural heritage of this area. And that is why it has a severe impact on the work of many scholars like ourselves. Yet, there are still unexpected parts of the Middle East where it is worth picking up the challenge, and that is exactly what we are doing right now. And one such place is the Arabian Peninsula.
In fact, most people know the Arabian Peninsula as the cradle of Islam and world's largest oil reserve. But what was there before? Arabia is often indicated as a blind spot on the historical map of the ancient world. But if you look closely at the map, you can see that Arabia is located exactly between Mesopotamia, Persia, and Egypt. So it seems only logical that Arabia connected these ancient civilizations somehow. A survey of these regions may result in finding back the missing link between these ancient civilizations and contribute to our future historical knowledge. And that is what we want to share with you today.
So, you understood that our big idea is that Arabia could be this missing link between the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Persia, and Mesopotamia. In fact, there are evidence that people traveled in the ancient world, and by doing so, established connections between cultures. For instance, the incense routes along the coastlines of Arabia are well known through Roman history. And so far, historians mostly focused on those coastal regions. But what about the roads across the Arabian Peninsula? Actually, our team has already worked there, and there we found traces of intense trade along caravan routes connecting these ancient civilizations through the Arabian desert.
So, why do we call it the missing link? Because nobody got into it yet. We could even say that in terms of historical research, Arabia is a terra incognita. Until oil was found, this particular region was of no importance for the world. There are no pyramids, and the climate is not inviting either. So you can understand why historians were not too keen for research there.
Well, isn't it time to do something about it then?
Sure. No burning sun, no freezing nights, no scorpions, and no barren landscape will stop us. Even though our methods are quite different than those of the early explorers. In the early 20th century, explorers could go on for months on sponsored expeditions in search of lost civilizations. Today, though, we need a precise plan, a detailed route, a timetable, and most important, evidence for our working hypothesis. So how did we do that, and where did our own journey start?
Our own journey started in the archive of the University of Louvain, which preserves the old records of the first scientific expedition to Saudi Arabia. Back in the 50s, 4 explorers were personally invited by King Abdulaziz in order to investigate the pre-Islamic heritage of his country. And that was a big adventure. The team consisted of Gonzague Reikmans and his nephew Jacques, who were both professors at the University of Louvain, Philippe Lippens, a Belgian officer, and last but not least, Harry St. John Philby, who was a British explorer and a former secret agent who had previously worked with Lawrence of Arabia himself. Well, before them, scholars used to think that ancient Arabia was a society without writing. But the Philby-Reikmans-Lippens expedition from our university proved exactly the contrary. They discovered that in antiquity, people in the Arabian desert made extensive use of writing. Among mighty sand dunes and rocky desert, these 4 gentlemen made a journey of more than 5,400 kilometers from Jeddah to Riyadh across the desert, the Saudi desert, in search of petroglyphs, rock art, and inscriptions. And during the 3 months of research, they recorded over 12,000 pre-Islamic texts written in a variety of ancient Arabian scripts and languages. These inscriptions, they contain mainly proper names. And these guys, in the inscriptions, they belong to the various tribes which used to live in the Arabian Peninsula in antiquity. And each of these tribes has its own dialect.
So after the retirement of Professor Jacques Reikmans, the notes, the maps, pictures, and correspondence of the team were donated to the Oriental Institute of our university and preserved in its archives. It is this Reikmans archive that holds a treasure of indispensable information for preparing our own journey to the Arabian desert. And it is this archive that will be our Lonely Planet guide on our big adventure. Our adventure in search of the missing link physically connecting Mesopotamia, Persia, and Egypt. More precisely, the ancient Trans-Arabian trade routes. There are 4 arguments why we believe that there were Trans-Arabian trade routes in addition to the coastal itineraries. First, the huge number of inscriptions prove that people used to stop by these desert rocks. Second, there are a lot of camels depicted on the rock art, which are the perfect animals for long-distance travels. Third, We know that in antiquity, the climate was much milder there than it is nowadays. And fourth, the Philby-Reikmans-Lippens mission recorded a lot of wells and springs in the middle of the desert. Since the team members of the Philby-Reikmans-Lippens mission were so busy documenting all those inscriptions, they did not realize that the maps they had drawn actually contained parts of these ancient trans-Arabian trade routes.
Well, we tell a story, like so many scholars do, and we want the same thing that so many scholars want. We want to go there and we want to explore. We have strong indication that it will be worth it, haven't we? But are we sure of that? No, of course not. That is what science is about. However, we need to move forward in the face of uncertainty. Maybe we'll discover nothing but sand and rocks. But maybe what we will discover there will shed an entirely new light on history. And hopefully, inshallah, you will see the results in the newspapers. Thank you.
Shukran.